Hi, today we're going to talk a little bit about common denominators and adding and subtracting fractions. You can't do one without the other, okay? A fact. Fractions with the same denominator are said to have common denominators. I think that's kind of a duh kind of a thing, but it is a fact. All of these fractions have the same denominator, 3. When you have fractions with the same denominator, you can easily add them together or subtract them. Here is Mrs. Borgel's magic method to add and subtract fractions. First, rename the fractions so they all have the same denominators. For instance, if you have 3/7 and you want to add it to 2/21, you need to make the 7 and the 21 be the same. Well, in this case, 7 goes into 21, so we could just make the 7 into a 21 by multiplying it times 3. And what we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top, so 3 times 3 is 9. And then we end up with 3 times 3, which is 9, over 21, plus 2 over 21, and we would have 11 over 21. And then you would just add them together. 21 is the LCM, or the denominator. Pretty easy stuff. How about 1/7 and 3/4? We need to find an LCM for these two numbers since neither of them are multiples of the other. Best way to do that is to use downward division, or to list the multiples of 7 and 4. In this case, I think that probably the easiest route in this case would be just to take 7 times 4 and 4 times 7. I think he would get the same result either way. So 1 times 4 is 4, 7 times 4 is 28, 3 times 7, 21, 4 times 7, 28. You end up with 4 over 28 plus 21 over 28. Add the two together, you get 25 over 28, which is not reducible. Sometimes it's just easier to just multiply the two denominators by each other. But remember that when you add them, the denominator does not change. If the denominator is the same, then you just add the two numerators together and leave the denominator the same. Okay, how about 1/2 and 1/3? Again, neither of them are multiples of the other, but I'll bet in your head you can very easily figure out what the common denominator would be for those two. And yes, of course, it's 6. So we need to make 1/2 and 1/3 into 6. The easiest way to do that is to take 2 times 3, that's 6, and do the same thing to the top. 3 times 2 is 6, and do the same thing to the top. You end up with 3/6. And this was a subtraction problem. Minus 2/6 is 1/6. Basically what we've done, which is what I said that we had to do in the first place, is we've renamed these fractions with new denominators that are exactly the same. Okay, LCM is what we're using here, big time. It is really important when we want to find common denominators to compare fractions to. It's really hugely important. Consider these. You've got 5/6 and 7/9. Now, you could take 9 times 6 and 6 times 9, and that would probably work. But let's see if we can deal with some smaller numbers by using downward division. So we put 6 and 9 in our downward division. We take 3 into 6, we get 2. 3 into 9, we get 3. Our LCM is 3 times 2 times 3, right here, which is 18. That's a whole lot smaller than 9 times 6 would have been. So we turn these two fractions into 18ths by simply multiplying. Okay? So 6 times 3 is 18, and 9 times 2 is 18. So we do the same thing at the top. 5 times 3 is 15, 7 times 2 is 14. And 15/8 is bigger than 14/8. So we would put the inequality sign pointing to the smaller to the right. Not too bad. This is going to, your downward division is going to come in very, very handy to do these kinds of problems. Okay, where else can we use this? Well, if we want to add fractions together, we have to get a common denominator. So in this case, 4 and 8 are our denominators. I go ahead and put 4 and 8. Oh, sorry about that, guys. I put 4 and 8 over here into my downward division. Take 2 into 4, I get 2 and 4. Take 2 into 2 and 4, I get 1 and 2. There's my L. So my LCM is 2 times 2 times 1 times 2, and 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. Well, we probably already knew that was going to work, but that's okay. It's good practice. Okay, so 4 times 2, 8. So that gives us our denominator. 3 times 2, 6. So we can put our 6 right here. Put our 3 right there. 6 plus 3 is 9/8, and that reduces to 1 and 1/8 when you do the math. Here's another one. We've got 8 and 3/4, 8 and 2/3, and we want to subtract 6 and 3/4. Now, we need a common denominator. Take the 3 and the 4. Now, you could probably see that it was 12, but let's use downward division just to practice. So I put 3 and 4 here. Nothing goes into it, so 1 would go into it. So 1 times 3 times 4 gives you 12. So even when you use this, you get the right answer. Okay? So 1 times 3 times 4 is 12. Your common denominator is 12. 3 times 4 is 12. So 2 times 4, 8. 4 times 3 is 12. So 3 times 3, 9. We got a problem. We have 8 minus 9 here. So we have to borrow. So this 8 becomes a 7. And we have now borrowed 12/12. So this becomes 8 plus 12, because you already had 8 and you put that 12 on there. So now it becomes 20. 20 minus 9 is 11, all over 12. And 7 minus 6, because remember we borrowed from over here, 7 minus 6 is 1. Answer, 1 and 11/12. Not too bad, not too bad. Okay? All right, now this one's a huge one. All right, we have 11 and 7/24 and 8 and 4/36 that we want to subtract. Now, how in the world would we have ever guessed 72? I wouldn't have guessed 72. But if I go over here and I put it in downward division, 24 and 36, 2 goes into them. 12 and 18, 2 goes into them. 6 and 9, 3 goes into them. Here's my L. If I multiply it, 2 times 2 times 3 times 2 times 3, I get 72. 72 is my denominator. 24 times 3 gives you 72, so take the top times 3, that gives you 21. 36 times 2 gives you 72, take the top times 2 as well, so 4 times 2 is 8. 21 minus 8 over 72 gives you 13 over 72, and 11 minus 8 gives you 3. Now, I am going to absolutely insist that you write down these examples, especially the harder ones like this, so that you have examples in your notes. Okay, does it work for more than just 2 fractions or 2 denominators? Yes, it does. So I'm going to just do one like this that I think was kind of an interesting one. 3/12 plus 7/18 plus 1/20. They're all divisible by 2, but none of them really go into each other nicely. So I am going to use downward division over here. Okay, so 12, 18, and 20. 2 goes into 12 6 times. 2 goes into 18 9 times. 2 goes into 20 10 times. Nothing else divides these, so this is the way it is. So we go ahead and draw our L. So our LCM is 2 times 6 times 9 times 10. And if you multiply that out, you get 1080. And yes, I did use a calculator to do that. But as you can see, I did it by hand first down here, and then I used the calculator to be sure I was right. Okay, so now over here in our problem, we have denominator of 1080. So it doesn't take so little work, but 12 times 90 is 1080. So 3 times 90 is 270. 18 times 60 is 1080. And 7 times 60 is 420. 20 times 54 is 1080. And 1 times 54 is 54. Add them together, you get 744 over 1080. Whew. Now, I won't be giving you a problem that's that big, but it does work with more than one fraction. Okay, and I wanted to reduce this, so I decided to do it in downward division. So I put 744 slash 1080. 2 goes into it, 372 and 540. 2 goes into that. You notice they're all even. They're all even. 2 goes into 272, gives us 186 and 270. Well, 2 goes into 186 and 270, gives us 93 and 135, and believe it or not, those are both divisible by 3. 3 goes into 93, 31 times. 3 goes into 135, 45 times. 31 is prime, so we are done. And so here is the reduced fraction. Woo! Who'd ever thought that it would go all that distance? Well, thanks for listening to me. I hope I didn't bore you too much, and I hope this helps. Have a great day.